Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Chris and I will be your host of today's webinar. And what we will do today is we will celebrate 10 years of customer journey management with cxomni. For that, I brought two of my colleagues, Johannes and Thomas, who we will introduce in a few seconds. And for today, we will have a kind of podcast interview format where I will ask those two guys about where did customer experience and journey management, or where was customer experience and journey management 10 years ago? What were the learnings and challenges for cxomni along the way? Where are we standing today and what will the future bring? We will, of course, also take questions and try to answer them as best as possible at the end of the webinar. Feel free to either put them in the chat of your GoToWebinar interface or put them in the question tool in your GoToWebinar interface if you want to ask them in private. So before we start, let me say a few words about cxomni. cxomni is the leading software as a service platform for customer journey mapping and management, trusted by a lot of international customers. You can see a selection of our customers here on the screen. And we are especially proud that we are leading the current wave for customer journey mapping software from Forrester. And when we talk about customer journey management, we're mainly talking about three different things. First of all, we're talking about customer journey mapping. That means the documentation and visualization of the end-to-end customer journey. And then second, gaining insights along this journey, what we call insights mining, also obviously supported by a lot of data connected to the customer journey. And of course, also AI applications allowing you to gain more insights, more efficient. And last but not least, probably the most important aspect of customer journey management is what we call the needs and management orchestration, meaning the ability to be able to put insights into actions and really get impact by doing so. And this is exactly what our software is tailored towards to and where our software really shines. So before we start, Thomas, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Christian. So my name is Thomas. I'm CSO of cxomni, means responsible for the sales department. And I joined cxomni in the second year after founding. And yeah, looking forward to share my experiences.
Thank you, Thomas. Very happy to have you here today. I know you are a very rare guest on our webinars, so I really, really appreciate having you here today. So Johannes, do you want to follow up on that?
Let's keep it quick. There will be enough talking of me later. I'm Johannes. I joined cxomni roughly 1.5 years ago, and I am currently the managing director.
Yeah, also very happy to have you here in our webinar today, Johannes. All right, so I would say then let's dive right in. We want to start by reflecting on the last 10 years. And Thomas, I know you are one of the founding fathers of cxomni, one of the first guys sitting in our office in Munich Ream. Can you tell us a little bit about how did the customer experience landscape look like 10 years ago? And why was there a need for customer journey management?
Yes, of course. So yeah, it's been a while. So let me reflect. CX in this time, in our understanding and also journey mapping, was strongly focused at this time on one-time efforts or workshops or a short project. That means people sitting together in workshop approaches and stuff like this, thinking about how customers' behavior is, what are the needs of the customers, and have the feeling after that workshops to understand the needs. You can imagine this leads to some challenges because it's just a very short effort what you put in time with this. So that means the challenges, for example, that drive the need for journey management, for example, could be things like a flash in the pan approach. So that means in the first thing, activities like this looking very promising, but in a long-term perspective, it was not a non-strategic approach, and that not leads to continuous improvements and even not to drive business impact. And that leads me to the second point. A lot of mapping activities, especially, not often leads to that business impact, like more revenue, saving costs, or things like this, because workshops and projects in that time a lot of times was one-off measures, and yeah, that's the point. So without continuously improvement, you not reach any impact. That was a very big problem at this time. And yeah, last but not least, from an operational perspective, Also, the challenge was that maps to this time was very static. So a lot of people design maps in things like InDesign and PowerPoints. They're looking very, very great as a picture on the wall, very beautiful with a lot of interesting things, but it was not a working material where you really can, for example, integrate data and stuff like this. So yeah, looking nicely, but with no impact. And thus, for example, these examples drive the need for a different way of working and drive also the journey management approach. Our founder, Wolfgang Weber, for example, after he left big corporate, worked as a CX consultant, and he experienced this by his own activities, especially when it comes to customer journey mapping. And this was the basic idea for the founding of cxomni.
Yeah, very interesting. I'm still experiencing this with a lot of companies I'm talking to today still. So I think it's still a reality for some organizations out there, but we will come back to that later during the webinar. Before that, Thomas, tell us a little bit more about cxomni. So looking back last 10 years, what would you say were the most significant milestones and achievements for cxomni in the customer experience realm?
As you know, you're talking with a sales guy. So for me, of course, it has something to do with customers and winning customers. But I can say when we first win our first big corporate global customers that really have the idea not to do just journey mapping, they want to work with a lot of teams. They want to establish this as a really strategic approach. This was a very big milestone, not only for cxomni, also for CX, because with this kind of attitude and this kind of spirit, there come a lot of interesting things into the game, especially business impact and stuff like this. You can say that especially companies from financial sectors like banking, insurance, or also pharma companies has started with that approach. And yeah, of course, it was the idea to have this knowledge or implement this kind of approach on a regular basis, not only one time, not only in a just project approach, so really as a part of the daily business. And for me, I think also for CX, this was a big step in the right direction and a big milestone. A second one, of course, was is in relation to this first milestone. CX and also journey management or journey management platforms come part of the IT landscape. So that means, of course, cxomni and also the customers have to deal with different stakeholders. Now you have a dedicated IT partner. You need certification, ISO certifications, SOC 2 certifications and stuff like this. The attention of the internal attention of the whole CX and journey mapping activities become a lot more transparent. And of course, this is a need because without this kind of IT landscape alignment, you never would have your own area and your own control. So this was definitely also a very good improvement, but also a big milestone. And yeah, last but not least, of course, also the attention of the analysts. You're talking about Forrester, Gartner, and a lot of consultants in the world have paid their attention to the CX and journey mapping. And that leads especially to a broader reach and more understanding about the whole topic. And this changed, of course, also the way of working for the companies and also for cxomni.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. So let's move from cxomni to our customers and what happened there during the last 10 years. So you already said there is a lot more internal attention towards the whole journey management topic. How would you say in general have companies and organizations expectations who are looking for a better customer experience evolved since you start, and how did cxomni adapt to those expectations?
Yeah, this was a very big difference between the early days, because nowadays, if you're talking with leads, with companies, with customers, then of course everybody knows journey management mapping has to deliver, and also CX has to deliver impact. As I already talked about, this impact means you need to have the capability to make your way of working transparent. You need to make it measurable, and you need to pay into the goals of a organization. And this was not like it was at the beginning. That was more like journey visualization, more about understanding customers. But now every request has to do with, of course, with the business impact. And this is a big change. And also the thing of silos, also the way of working with collaboration with other departments and stuff like this. I have the feeling that in the beginning of our days, it was just theory. But now if you have tenders on the table and stuff like this, there's always a need to show capabilities. that make it possible to collaborate with teams from service, with process teams and marketing and so on. And of course, cxomni adapt this and enlarge functionalities, for example, like adding service blueprint elements to a journey map. Don't want to go to detail, but this has changed completely from a theory to a real living example, because collaboration is, as we all know, crucial for the success of CX and also journey management. And yeah, of course, last but not least, we have the data topic. Nearly every request, every conversation we have with our customers, leads, and so on, has to do with data integrations. Everybody knows without data you can measure, and without data you cannot validate. So the combination of design and metrics with data sources is absolutely crucial. And of course, this is the expectation we deliver to our customers.
Yeah, I think you can't stress your first point enough, that it's important to think about how to drive impact with journey management and mapping, because I don't know how often we say this when we talk to customers, but posters on a wall look very nice, but they don't get your euros or dollars, right? So that's something that we can't stress enough. And I think, Thomas, you are one of the most, if not the most experienced guy at cxomni when it comes to working with customers and helping them to get towards exactly this goal, driving impact with journey management. If you could only give 3 recommendations based on your experience of the last 10 years.
Just a second, let me just, yeah, you're right. Let's come to the learnings. First of all, I want to say, think big, start small is a very, very important recommendation, because I experience a lot that people want to try to create the perfect world scenario. They want to consider everything that is possible, but in the end, you landing up in no result. Looking for low-hanging fruits, looking for quick wins, make it simple as possible, but still with enough deepness to come to the right results. I think this is a very important recommendation. And also the thing like the cooperative approach, you always have to understand you're not sitting on your desk and creating a customer journey. Customer journey always needs the support of other people, other departments, need support by management, management buy-in and stuff like this. If you're not thinking about this and you're not thinking about how the goals that's combined with this collaboration are achieved, you will have a hard time. And that leads me to our last point, goal definition. It always makes sense to think about what is my goal if I want to start journey management or even journey mapping. Without a goal definition, you don't have a clear picture. And especially if you want to collaborate, the point I said before, then you need to understand what is the goal of the department I want to collaborate. For example, if you want to collaborate with sales team, then of course you need to showcase how your activities, your journey management, your CX activities pay into the goals of the other departments. If you talk with sales, then of course you need to pay in the revenue goals. It's very simple. It sounds very simple, but we experience that a lot of people not make this exercise and then wondering why is nobody participating on my project or nobody is a fan of my activities. I think that should be considered, even if it's simple.
Yeah, I think it's not that easy, and that's a perfect transition to Johannes now, because Johannes is not only our managing director, but also our head of customer success, and he is exactly doing that, helping companies to adapt the journey management approach. Of course, tool supported here with cxomni, but we know it's not just a tool, but it's the whole transformation process behind that. And now we have looked back in time. Johannes, tell us, where are we standing now? Why would you say is a holistic journey management approach more critical than ever for companies and organizations?
I mean, that it is more important than ever is pretty simple to prove. I mean, otherwise you all wouldn't be here today. But I mean, it always sounds stupid, but in the end, it's rising end customer expectations, but also increasing competition. I mean, we're working with a lot of insurance companies, for example, and in the past few years, I mean, there were platforms like Check24 or another like online portals where you can like compare insurances, but there were also all these new insurances popping up. So there's just so much more competition, and you need to stand out just beside your product. And I mean, what's always important to get is you're not selling a product. You're always selling a brand. You're always selling a experience that someone is going through, and that's just something where I really like having proper journey management in place. Significantly helps. I mean, it allows you to build like a governance structure around what your customers are experiencing. It helps you measure things. It helps you measure, are we moving to the right direction? Do we need to tweak or tailor something in our offering, in the experience we're delivering towards customers? But it also, I mean, it sounds stupid, but it helps you help holding people accountable. I mean, everyone's working corporate jobs. I mean, you're having so much to do, and if your job isn't CX, someone needs to hold you accountable, and having journey management in place just makes it so much easier. Clear ownership, accountability for improvements, but in the end, having a structure and having a holistic approach also gives you the ability to report on progress and outcomes to all levels of the organization, being it frontline teams, being it your executive leadership. They're all part of this transformation, and you need to keep them in the loop. You need to keep them involved. But I mean, why is it more important than ever? Pretty simple. To keep your competitive advantage. We all want to make money in the end. So that's basically what it's all about.
Yeah, I think oftentimes journey management feels like the foundation of all your customer experience efforts, right? Where everything comes together and where everything hopefully connects so you can make improvements. So talking about connecting things and dots, how would you say has the whole possibilities we have today with journey analytics, or everything that is summarized under journey analytics, transformed the way that companies identify pain points and opportunities along the journey nowadays?
That's a tough question to answer in 2 or 3 sentences. I mean, I recently spoke about this for like 45 minutes in another webinar. But what analytics and the use of analytics in the context of journey management helps us to do is see the customer as a customer and not just as a score. I mean, everyone's having their dashboards here and there, and you have your CSAT score and so on, but a customer isn't just a score. The customer has emotions, feelings, and so on. And what the combination of analytics and journey management allows us to do is to really get to the core of what the customer is feeling, bringing all the information together at one place. You're having so much different data points in your organization. Your product team has a ton of interaction data with your product. Your marketing team knows how their campaigns are going, what's resonating with people, what's not. You as CX manager, you're having access to like surveys, CSAT, NPS, and so on. And we need to bring all those things together and really start painting a picture with it. And only then it really allows us to understand what's going on and gives us that real-time visibility into customers, but also the ability to be fast. I mean, today's world is changing so fast, and we need to be quick. We need to be up to date, otherwise someone else will do it. So using data and your CX knowledge combined really gives you that that ability, and we need to make sure that we're always going through that continuous improvement cycles. And I mean, I've been part of tons of projects here at cxomni, and in the beginning, it's always the question, hey, we need to start collecting this and this and this and this data point. And in 99% of the cases, the answer is no. You don't need to collect any data. All the data you need is already available within the organization. Just look at how many different channels you have where you're really connecting information about your customers. Also, like social media, Instagram, Facebook, there are comments about your products. App Store reviews, Trustpilot, and so on. So let's really start making use of that data.
Mm-hmm. So when companies and organizations approach me or Thomas, most of the time they have the same problem. They're saying, okay, we want to connect data to the journeys, but we have so much data we don't know where to start. Can we connect all the data? So what practical tips would you give those companies if you say they will or they want to somehow unify the customer metrics along the journey context, especially if they have complex data landscapes like the ones you described?
I would always start with data that holds emotional information, emotional context. So it's mostly stuff like feedback data, review data, but not the score, but the text the customer sent you. I think that's really the key to identifying pain points, uncovering opportunities. And what we then need to do is, I mean, we just spoke about having that holistic approach already. You need to start building out a framework, and you need to start mapping your metrics against that framework. A metric or a data point is pretty much useless without context. I mean, knowing our bounce rate increased from 10 to 20, oh shit, we need to do something, but like what's going on? You still have basically gained zero insight in what's happening. So once we start putting the data into that journey structure that we are all familiar with, it really allows us to get a deeper understanding. And you need to build a system around this. The system can be anything, but you need to have that centralized place, that one single source of truth that everyone in the organization can look at and everyone understands. Sending someone a BI dashboard with 1,000 data points, I mean, 99% of the people will be lost. Showing them a journey that like clearly visually shows what the customer is going through, where we're having like high points, low points, pain points, and so on, is so much easier to understand, and also helps us getting that buy-in. And I mean, you asked for what I would recommend. I mean, I would recommend you just start using data, because data makes your life as a CX manager so much easier. We all know the issue. Hey, we go to the next department, we have those opportunities identified, this is something you can improve, this is something that needs to be changed, and they're all running their own work, but having actually data points that support your recommendations makes it so much easier to get the buy-in from other departments as well, and only then we can really succeed as CX managers.
Mm-hmm. So, Johannes, you're sitting at the forefront of customer journey management. You're working with all the organizations we saw in the beginning during the introduction. So if we looked in the past, we looked in the here and now, what is your expectation? How will customer experience develop in the next 10 years?
Yeah, pretty simple, actually. I think the CX or journey manager role will rise. They will get more important. We need to stop thinking about products. We need to start thinking about journeys and experiences. Thus, the journey manager role will get more important. And I'm pretty certain that it will also get boardroom accountability if it's not already the case. I think everyone being in CX right now, being in journey management right now, is in a very, very good place for the future. As I said in the beginning, you're not selling a product anymore. You're selling an experience. It's always the case. Even if you're just selling a phone, you're selling an experience. So I think journey managers will get more important, and there will be very, very high level attention on CX.
Yeah, I think also technology will play a more and more significant role, right? Even more significant than now. So, and I think also the tools become more and more powerful, especially now that we see agents and AI thriving, right? So what advice would you give companies trying to integrate this new technology in their existing customer experience landscapes and strategies?
I think three topics. Topic number one, start by building a framework. Know how you're calling things and make sure that everyone in the organization understands when you're talking about something. So have that framework in place to get everyone on board with you. Secondly, I think Thomas said this earlier, focus on quick wins. Don't try to change what you can't change. Start with something simple where you can show value fast so that you can get other people's buy-in. And then thirdly, once that's the case, I would pick some pilot projects in the organization. Find some people that are willing to partner with you and build some great use cases around journey management. And I think that will really help you to show that value relatively quickly, because I mean there is tremendous value in the methodology.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Johannes. So before we end this today, so who listened closely remember that Thomas told us how customer experience and journey management looked like 10 years ago, and that I said for a lot of organizations this is still a reality today, and if you can see yourself there, we might have something for you at the end of this webinar, which is basically now. Because what we developed and want to present for the first time during this webinar is our new maturity assessment. So if you're an organization looking to really elevate your customer experience program, your customer experience initiatives, and you're asking yourself, where should I start, especially if I want to go towards customer journey management, then this is exactly the right thing for you, because we want to really help you to locate yourself on relevant dimensions for journey management, and then offer individualized recommendations on how to improve on each dimension to further your adoption of journey management. The whole thing takes just about 30 minutes, and the really cool thing about the model, and I really love this model, is that it was a joint venture between us, the Experience Leadership Club, and the Journey Management Roundtable, which is a collection of companies and organizations from the German market already working with customer journey management. So they've put together all their challenges, all their learnings and best practices in this model, and thereby make it highly relevant for the practical application. And that really differentiates the model from the more, I would say, theoretical and academic models. So big shout out to everyone involved here. As said, I am really a fan of this maturity model. And if you want to do the assessment, you'll only need 30 minutes and you will receive an individual report afterwards. Feel free to contact Johannes, Thomas, or me, or simply scan the QR code here and fill in your contact information, and I will reach out to you. So, as promised, we also will answer questions now. Give me 1 second to check the questions tool. So, one question. Can you share a concrete example of how integrating analytics into journey management revealed an unexpected pain point or opportunity? I don't know who wants to answer that. Thomas, Johannes?
Yeah, I can actually take that. I don't know if the one who we discovered this with is on the webinar as well, but this is like super interesting what we did. We have a ton of AI functionalities in the tool where you can like analyze feedback and really like compress feedback into the structure of a journey. And what that customer did is take all the positive feedback and let the AI generate a best case journey, take all the negative feedback, create a worst case journey, and then have their own view on it as well. And by that, we're having like 3 different perspectives on a customer journey. And that really helped us to like find the delta between the worst case and the best case, and to relatively quickly pinpoint the main pain points. I think that was such a smart but easy idea. I can only recommend doing that.
Anything to add?
No, we're just receiving 3 requests for your maturity check, so it's running good.
I have one more question in tool. What skills or roles do you think will be most important?
Adaptability. Adaptability. You need to be able to adapt to everything that's changing. CX is so new still. It's still changing every single day. Be open for everything that's coming. I think that's the most important skill for this role.
Yeah. So I think that's a very interesting question, because obviously the role customer journey management is also very novel, I would call it like that. And the question is, what is the skill set that you need to bring to be a good customer journey manager, right? So, and I think that's still to be answered at this moment, right? Because we see a lot of people from customer experience, because it's very, very much related to customer journey management, obviously. But I think for a real holistic journey management, you need a lot more than only customer experience managers. You need product owners who know how to develop products and services. You need data scientists, right? Or at least data analysts to really be able to structure your data in a way that it answers questions along the journey.
I mean, you summarized it perfectly. Journey management isn't a one-person thing. It's not you lock yourself into the room, you build something great, and you change the organization. It's really facilitator role. Let's call it like that. You need to be the one bringing everyone to the table and orchestrating the change in your org.
Yeah, I also think a good.
Also call it enabler. You also can call it networker. It's very very important to be connected. Otherwise, you will reach anything.
Yeah, it has a great overlap with project management in the end, right? So you need to be a very good project manager to be a good journey manager in the end. All right, looking at the time, we are 1 minute overdue. So thank you everyone for joining us on today's webinar. Would love to see you during the maturity assessment if you're interested. And thank you, Johannes and Thomas. Wish you all a pleasant evening and goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.